So I wanted to talk about some of the ways that Christianity, or at least Christians, kept me ignorant, or the church, or what have you. I guess this is more specifically people empowered the church, but sometimes it didn't come from just Christians. And there's a few of them that I wrote down just for notes, just to kind of keep a general idea. But one of the main things is that I feel when it comes to people, it's like almost propaganda in a way of what they're doing when it comes to talking about evolution or whatever. If you go and you talk to Christians about evolution or whatever, I can't guarantee you anything, but I would say it's extremely likely that they don't actually know what it is. And how can you know if something's ludicrous or if something doesn't make sense if you don't know what it is? Which is why it's important that when it comes to speaking about Christianity, it's good to know about the Bible, whether regardless of what side of the debate you're on, which is, um, but when it comes to evolution, I was told, oh, they think we came from monkeys, or, it's funny, even in terms of like masturbation or whatever. Um, he was like, I was with a pastor one time when I was a Christian. He was just like, I wonder what was going through the mind of the first guy who looked at his hand. I'm like, that looks like a vagina, and I'm like, even as a Christian, I was facepalming because I knew that it's just, even monkeys are brothers, not our, father species or whatever. Our not our common ancestor, our brothers do it just naturally, and then they give each other blowjobs and stuff like that, which is interesting. But yeah, so it's like it's not. It's just It's not something that someone thought of one day. This is something that naturally happens. Um, and that's the thing about that is that they ignore the things about science, and not only do they ignore them, they either accidentally or intentionally misrepresent them, which is what the main problem is right now, is that what we're talking about is being misrepresented, which I guess this kind of will tie in at a point in some way to my last video about kind of being outspoken in a minute, and I'll put a link in the description, but the thing is that how can we expect them to not believe in fairy tales when they think that we're speaking fairy tales? And they're being told, oh, this makes so much sense because we're saying it in this way, and evolution doesn't make any sense at all because we're saying it in that way. Because there are a lot of logical and very smart, intelligent people on the other side. They're just being deceived. I'm only speaking from what other people told me. Other people have told me I'm intelligent, again, only speaking from what other people have told me. And I'm kind of in a way gullible because the way that my mom raised me, she was very gullible and she like almost forced me to trust her and forced me to trust people because all the time I was around Christians and Christian people. So I was almost deluded into thinking, or I was made to think that everyone is trustworthy because I was always around Christians who, Christians are always trustworthy is what I was told. So therefore, everyone I was around all the time was always trustworthy. So I never had a reason to not trust people. And so that was the thing. And then I come to realize, oh, evolution doesn't say we come from monkeys. Evolution doesn't talk about the Big Bang or how life began. And once you start learning these things, then you're like, then why was I told this? And then you come to realize, wow, it's a propaganda thing to a certain extent. And that's just something that I feel is really important in terms of just making sure that they actually know what's going on. Because, again, it ties in with the whole we got to be outspoken thing. And I think one of the big things is that we need to start educating people. And, like I said, and I said in the other video, like some easy pamphlet or something, but in a very either interactive or a very easy way for the user to comprehend is that okay, almost like a Bible tract. We can make it like an evolution tract or something like that. It's like, okay, this is what we actually think. Stop, Christians, stop telling us what we believe and let us speak for ourselves. You don't like it when we do it, so, let's have some respect here. And that kind of goes into the whole hypocrisy thing, but that's for another video. Um, so that's the idea, is that we need to be more outspoken about that because of the fact that they're not only ignorant about their faith or whatever, but it's kind of even almost unfair. they're at a big disadvantage because they're being lied to from the very get-go, which you can't really blame them for. But once we give them the information, then we can then they have the opportunity to make an informed decision. Um, Also, when it comes to that whole thing, I've got my notes here. Oh yeah, when it comes to the whole ignorance thing, um, they they tell you that, or so this is something I told. I can only speak from personal experience, but from my experience, I was told there's no reason to look anywhere else because you already know the truth. Um, so I'm not sure if this is a popular thing or if this was just something with the church that I went to. Um, the thing about that is that how I was born into Christianity and I was told, oh, this is absolutely the truth. But so were the Muslims and the Indians, or well, the Hindus. They don't necessarily have to be Hindu, but all of these people born to all these religions are told, oh, this is the truth. We're telling you the truth. Everyone else is lying to you. Um, and then these people have the audacity to tell me that I don't have to look anywhere else. I should not even consider going on the internet. I shouldn't educate myself at all. So what they're basically saying is that anyone who goes into religious studies that ends up learning about any other religion should just either fail the classes because they should not actually learn the material or anything. They just need to go read the Bible and that's it. They don't need to go into any scientific studies or anything because as long as they know the truth, who cares? Why don't you just go work at McDonald's or Publix for the rest of your life, or don't do anything, because it's all about why would you go and study anything else? Why would you go and spend the time to go to college? Why would you go and spend the time to learn anything when you could be learning about the Bible? Why are you reading a textbook and not reading about the Bible? Why are you doing this and not reading the Bible? Which, I guess to a certain extent could be good because the fastest way to actually cure anyone of being a Christian is for them to actually read the Bible, especially Genesis. Um, so that's the problem, is that they're also being told don't look anywhere else. So I think another way to combat that would be, hey, just to keep not bothering them, because we don't want to turn into them. But the idea is that we do this in a way where we're just trying to promote healthy learning. I don't know if that's kind of a bad way to put it, but healthy learning in the sense of being open-minded and being open, right, yeah, being open-minded to anything and everything, even if you don't necessarily agree with it. But there's no harm in listening to someone. Everyone has an opinion, and that shouldn't stop you from. And just because you think you're right doesn't mean you shouldn't listen to anyone else. Because then, how are you supposed to know if the first opinion is the right opinion? It's like, okay, well, this is my very first opinion I've ever had in my entire life, and now it's going to be set that way in stone forever. That's not cool. And I'm sure, if the pastor kept the pastor that I'm talking about, was a thug and he was a criminal and he was in prison and stuff like that. If that was really his thing, then why isn't he still an atheist or whatever? So that's the thing. And the final thing is that they just tell you things based on context. The way I was told by some people in some situations. Actually, the head pastor and his son-in-law, I guess, because the guy married the head pastor's daughter. Um, I'm just gonna call son-in-law. I'm sorry if I'm wrong. Son-in-law said at the and he's the youth pastor. He said some sins are worse than others, which doesn't make sense to me because if any sin can keep you out, then what's the point of one being worse than another? It doesn't really matter. And we were talking about the difference between like lying and raping someone or homosexuality. Um, and then the flip side of that is that the head pastor to the whole congregation of the church said, "Oh, all sin is equal." He basically he didn't say those words exactly, but he said sin is sin. And so, what am I supposed to believe, the head pastor or the other pastor? So it just kind of goes to show is that not only is it contradictory in a lot of ways, but more so than that in this specific context of what I'm trying to talk about, is that it's what they tell you based on circumstance. They kind of keep you ignorant. If they're like, if you're asking a question, oh, but what about this? And you're being very sincere, honest, many times, honestly, is that many times that you go to the pastor and stuff like that, you're very sincere. It's like, I don't understand this. And they're like, okay. And then they explain it to you, but then they just explain it to you what you need at that time. It's not like, here's everything that we believe, and then just keep going to that. They say it's the Bible, but it really isn't, because then there wouldn't be so many denominations. They say, okay, come to us if you have any questions, then we'll explain it to you in a way that works for you, and then come back later if you have any more questions. And then they'll give different explanations to different people, and it also depends on who you ask, even from the same church. And these are supposed to be people who are educated in the Bible, and who know what they're talking about, and who are anointed. And what does that even mean? But that's the whole point, is that I'm trying to speak from my own personal experiences, that if anyone out there can relate who is still in that situation where they're still a Christian or not a Christian or whatever, they can kind of understand better what's going on if they're in that situation. They can, if they're having that question, why am I hearing different things from different pastors? And sometimes they're so mind controlled, or not mind controlled, but brainwashed or whatever, by believing that there's absolutely no contradictions, that can't even be an option for them. So here's a different perspective, is that they're telling you what you need to know at that time, and whatever they believe will be the best explanation for you. Because there's different explanations, but from different people, and sometimes there's different explanations from the same person, but, oh, this is a more logical person, or this is a more whatever. Or they'll be like, okay, well, you're a logical person, so in order to put in your terms, you have to go and speak to a logical Christian. And it's like, it doesn't really make sense. But that's the thing, is that I want to help relate to people. I want to put this out there in a way that if you were going through the same thing that I was going through, you can kind of understand where I'm coming from with this when it comes to dealing with the whole being kept in a place that is just absolute ignorance. And I'm not even talking about the faith at all. They, as long as they say everything right about evolution, they can keep believing whatever they want, whatever. The point of this video is that they need to stop lying to you. They need to stop lying to you. You are being lied to. And I'm not even talking about anything in the Bible. I'm talking about when it comes to them talking about what other people believe, and that's even other religions. They'll lie to you about what other religions believe and what evolution thinks. All this, not thinks, but what evolution says and all this stuff. They will lie to you completely. They will lie to you about what a theory is and whatnot. And regardless if it's accidental or intentional, if it's accidental, we need to go and tell them that they're wrong. And we need to go tell the pastors. And that's one thing. We can go to the pastors and say, okay, can you tell me what evolution is? I'm not here to convince you, I'm just here to educate you, so that when you tell your congregation or whatever, you actually have the right definition. And just to make sure that, go online and research what these things are if you're a person in this situation, and then bring it to them and say, listen, this is what it actually is. This is what they actually believe in. This is not what you're telling me, so why are you telling me this? And, whether or not you actually want to confront them about this is up to you, but that's the idea, is that we need to set the record straight. And once we are able to do that, I do believe that people will start to be like, well, these group of people are lying to me all the time, and have lied to me for a long time. These haven't. They're being completely truthful, and if I present them any evidence that would change their mind, they would completely change their mind. So, what side do I really go on in that situation? And then that's not only, and then after that, having a level playing field of everyone being on the same page, just going from there, talking about what's wrong with the Bible and stuff like that. So that's pretty much it, just making sure that everyone stays on the same page, everyone's completely honest, especially considering that it's a sin to lie. And it doesn't specify whether or not you know it's a sin or not, or whether or not you know it's truth. But that's pretty much it. Please just let me know your thoughts about the subject and any other problems you see in terms of the context of what I was talking about this video. And thank you very much.